Markup, and the gentleman from Virginia, the sponsor of this resolution, is recognized for finance.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I want to first thank you for bringing this resolution up for consideration. In 1956, this very committee considered House Resolution 396. At that debate and the recordings that were taking place in the congressional record, they noted in those proceedings that in 1814, Francis Scott Key, when he wrote the song that later would become our national anthem, included the phrase, "In God is our trust." They further noted that in 1865, during the Civil War, that Congress authorized "In God we trust" to be placed on our coins. They went on to note that in 1908, Congress mandated that "In God we trust" be placed on our coins. And then they noted that in 1955, Congress mandated that "In God we trust" be placed on our currency. That resolution passed unanimously in the House, unanimously in the Senate, and was signed into the law of the land by President Dwight Eisenhower. Now, there were, of course, voices in opposition, just like there are voices in opposition today. And just like the end of the classic movie Casablanca, you can normally round up the usual suspects and the usual arguments. They argued, as they do today, first, "E pluribus unum" should be the national motto. This committee, in the record, rejected that, and the House and the Senate overwhelmingly rejected that argument and said, no, it should be "In God we trust." They argued, as has been mentioned today, that it was a violation of the Establishment Clause and the separation of church and state. But the problem with that is that the Ninth Circuit, the 10th Circuit, the 5th Circuit, numerous district courts, and the Supreme Court of the United States have all rejected the arguments and said they're just wrong. They argued, no doubt, as some do today, as we heard this morning, why deal with the phrase like "In God we trust" when we have such challenging times and there's so many words. Words about terrorism, the kind of legal brought to Saddam, and today on "In God we trust." And you know what this committee said in the record? They said this is an inspirational phrase, and if you go back and you look at when they acted on "In God we trust," it was at those very times. The War of 1812, the Civil War. Who signed it into law? The Allied commander who fought the greatest war the United States has ever fought, the war for freedom itself in World War II. And they knew that we needed inspiration in those times. Now, the other thing that we saw was that they finally undoubtedly argued, as some do today, why pass a motto if there may be some who do not agree with it? Well, that's the same argument that some use for not even displaying the Pledge of Allegiance in our visitor center. And yet all but 8 members of the House of Representatives rejected that argument last year, and every member of the House and the Senate rejected it in 1956. But why the need to reaffirm our motto if it's the law of the land? Why reaffirm it if it was passed into law in 1956? Well, there have been actions to change it in a de facto manner. Agencies and departments have been encouraging that it not be posted. There's been a chilling effect where school children, school districts, where individuals in federal buildings didn't know whether they could post "In God we trust" on their walls. We watched as a $621 million visitor center that's a part of this capital refused not only putting "God we trust" on the wall, but literally put in stone that our national motto was "E pluribus unum," until this House stood up and said, you're not going to do that, we're not going to let that happen. You're going to put the true motto of this country, "God we trust," on the wall. We've watched the President of the United States go to Indonesia and state that our motto was "E pluribus unum," and it's not. It's "In God we trust." And we've heard even the chaplain of the House say in speech their national motto is "E pluribus unum," when it wasn't. It's "In God we trust." The Senate beat us to the punch because in 2006, the Senate knew how important it was to reaffirm this motto, and they passed a simple resolution reaffirming "In God we trust." Now, the problem was we didn't have the ability to even bring it up for debate for the last 4 years so that we could do what the Senate did. And that's why, Mr. Chairman, I thank you for bringing this up for debate. And I just want to close by saying this. To suggest that we should not encourage that in God we trust be on our buildings, perhaps in our classrooms, at the same time that we mandate that every one of those students use this dollar bill within God we trust to buy their lunches and to do everything else they do through the currency of the United States is an argument that's just a bridge too far. And so, Mr. Chairman, I hope today we'll do what the Senate did in 2006. We'll do what this committee did in 1956. We will give the inspiration that our people across this country want and need, and we'll reaffirm this motto, in God we trust. It was right in 1956. It's right today. And I go back.